What's up, guys? Welcome to the second episode of Mindset Matters. I'm your host, Jared Manigault, and the title for this episode is The Relentless Pursuit of Excellence. Cue the intro. Welcome back, guys. So here I have with me today Christian Tips.
Yes, sir.
So, Christian, why don't you tell us a little about yourself?
Well, as he said, my name is Christian Tips, and I am the Chief Operating Officer for the Empowerment Through Mindset Foundation. And, I'm a Dallas College student, and so I'm pursuing my associate's degree in computer science, and I want to pursue afterwards a career that relates to game development. And I have a passion for Christianity and spiritual wellness. And so I wanted to see where my game development could take me in regards to Christianity as well. So maybe creating Christian games or Christian spaces that are in relation to virtual reality as well. So being able to imagine being in Noah's flood in a virtual reality landscape, or being in the Garden of Eden, being able to see the tree of knowledge with your own eyes. That would be something really cool. And so that's why I decided to pursue computer science at Dallas College. I'm a part of a lot of different organizations. And so me and Jared are actually a part of the Student Government Association. We're also a part of the Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society. And we are both a part of the Entrepreneurship Society at Dallas College as well. So there's a lot of different organizations that we've become a part of as student leaders, and we've taken it to the next step. We've filed for this nonprofit to make it happen so that we can empower the minds of many different individuals. And so, yeah, that's just a little bit about me. So,
Okay, so you mentioned there you serve as Chief Operating Officer. So tell us a little bit about what that looks like. How do you approach your role in the organization?
right. So there is a lot of moving parts that are within an organization or within a business. And so whenever you're starting your business, you're going to have to work with many different groups of people with different ideologies, with different backgrounds. And so you want to be able to create a structure that fits all those moving parts together. And so how I normally see my role as a chief operating officer, I see it as a game of chess. You have a lot of different moving parts in the game of chess. You have your knights, you have your queens, you have your rooks, you have your bishop. And so I often see a lot of the people that we position, like our CTO or like our CFO or like our CEO, they're all moving parts within one large game of chess. And the objective is to obtain checkmate, to be able to move all our pawns to the opposite side so that we can upgrade and appreciate and value for the business. And so as the chief operating officer, there's a lot of structure that has to be in place. There's a lot of policy that you have to put in writing. There's a lot of processes in terms of hiring, in terms of onboarding that you have to go through in order to make the business successful, because people don't want to work in an environment that is messy or in an environment that is unstructured, because they are more than likely to leave it as soon as they see it's not somewhere where they fit in.
Yeah, I remember talking to Daniel about that very same thing. So, in addition to the way you approach your role, so we know your mindset behind it. When I first started dealing with you on an organizational level, or even just on campus at Dallas College, one of the things I noticed is that you have a very mature mindset for your age. So tell me where that comes from, the way you approach things, the way you look at things. Where does that come from?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. And it's something that I do often reflect on. If you don't know, I'm age 19 right now, turning 20 in November. And so I graduated high school in 2023. And so I'm a little new to the business space of things, there's a lot of people that are older than me, and so most oftentimes I am the youngest person in the room in many different instances. And so what I have to do is I have to not look at age most of the times. I have to see myself not as a number. I have to see myself as who I am and the value that I bring to the table. And so I've always been a person that's wanted to be valuable. I've always wanted to be someone that can contribute to a larger matter. And so I've always worked on building my knowledge, getting understanding, getting wisdom so that I can sit at the table with people who may be older than me, people who may have more experience than me, people that may have a deeper understanding of this life. And I know that it's going to take more experience for me as well, but I just want to have the conceptual knowledge as well, to be able to understand things even without the experience. And so I always say there's three different ways to learn. There's the experience that you go through yourself. You can learn from other people's experience, or you can just get divine revelation from God. You know, God, he gives wisdom to people as well. And so I would say from a young age, I often read the Bible, Proverbs or Ecclesiastes. Those are just really great books of wisdom that I highly recommend to everybody if they're looking for becoming a successful person, someone who has built good character, someone who is a man that cares about virtue and who cares about obtaining more talents. And so I guess that's where it kind of comes from, my background in just spiritual wellness, Christianity, and it makes you a more disciplined person, I believe. I believe that as you are striving for spiritual excellence and wanting to just become an ultimately good person, you it affects every aspect of your life. And so it affects me academically, it affects me in the entrepreneurship space as well. So
Okay. Yeah. So, and I like what you said there about specifically, you talked about three different types of experience that you can gain. And that's something I always use that expression, the best teacher in life is experience. And you kind of broke down three different ways that you can gain experience and that can contribute to knowledge.
mhm.
And so we have a lot of similarities in the sense that growing up, I was an avid Bible reader. You know, I still read my Bible daily, and
Yeah.
so you know that's something that kind of informs my mindset as well.
Mhm.
And then just noticing the way you move, the way you act, the way you carry yourself as a person, and that's kind of what made me choose to involve you in this process because I knew the value that you could bring to this entire not only the foundation but also just to life in general because to be quite honest again that's rare especially at a young age to have that type of mindset.
Mhm.
So another question I wanted to ask you, since joining the foundation, tell us a little bit about what you've been able to do so far. What have you done so far working with the foundation?
Yeah, of course. So part of what I do as a chief operating officer, I govern the operations department. And so what that entails is our hiring processes. So I talked about this a little before, but you want to be able to have a hiring process because you're going to be bringing people from all different types of backgrounds, whether it's marketing or whether it's finance or whether it's somebody in planning, data analytics. And so you want to be able to have a vetting process to where you can see what type of character they bring to the organization. You want to be able to see what type of skills and backgrounds they have, what kind of knowledge do they have, and you want to be able to have that vetting process so that you can know for sure that they're going to bring value to the organization and that they're going to be able to have the passion and the drive to bring more value. And so that's why, I've developed hiring processes. I know that you've helped me with that too as a CEO because you set the overarching vision for the organization. And so your input is always valuable in terms of operation side of things as well, because we want to make sure that our core values are in everything that we do. And so we've incorporated it or well, I've incorporated it within our policies as well. So what core values we're looking for in people, and if they resemble our core values. And then I also have developed other things such as our job descriptions. And so when we go and send them out and we upload them on different hiring platforms, we want them to be able to read them and see if they align with that firsthand so that they can go in and do the application process. Some other little things that I've been able to do is I've designed budgets or revenue. Um,
Cost breakdowns.
yeah, like cost breakdowns. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Thank you. Some cost breakdowns on certain things, whether it's items that we'll use in our offices, or if we need, let's say, a binder, if let's say we need a notebook. Those are different costs that you will need in your business, and you'll have to consider all things. And so I take in consideration every little minute detail because I know that it's the little things that matter, and it's the things that make or break us. Is the little things that we often don't see in hindsight.
Okay. Yeah, and you kind of mentioned just when you're talking about the different things that you've accomplished within that, it kind of brings me back to when I was working as an HR manager at Brinks. It's always interesting to watch how people act when they're new to an organization.
Mhm.
It's always a pleasure to kind of introduce people and walk them through the orientation process so that they kind of get acclimated to all of the things that you have set in place for them to be able to enjoy. And so it's nice to see somebody else getting to create some of that structure so that they can watch those things happen as well. So, what are you working on now?
Well, currently I'm working on the programs that we will have in the Empowerment Through Mindset Foundation. So we're working on a plethora of different programs. And so
That's a word right there.
one that's
Plethora.
a plethora. So what we're working on right now is our signature program coming soon. It'll be called the Empowerment Through Mindset Foundation Academy. Now, what this will entail is that it'll be an opportunity for us to educate all groups of people, diverse backgrounds, on entrepreneurship, about leadership, about self expression, all of these things that will help a person develop and become a great leader, and to be able to take their dreams to the next level, to be able to make sure that they create an impact in their community or to create an impact to their family. And so we want to be able to have a curriculum that resonates with their passion, that's something that can be duplicated amongst all groups of people, whether you want to start a business in clothing, whether you want to start a business in education, or whether you want to start a business, just with your family, like a family business, family restaurant. All of those things is what this curriculum and what this program will provide. ETMF Academy will help you achieve your long lasting goals and aspirations. And so that's just one program that we've been working and cooking up for you guys. And so another program or fund, I should say, is the student activity funds. Because as we said before, we come from a background of student government and honor societies and different recognized student organizations. And so we wanted to be able to take it to the next step and be able to actually pour back into those organizations that, for me at least, has helped me become a better leader, to be able to see structure on a smaller scale so that I can take it to the next level and scale it up into the nonprofit that we're working in together. And maybe you can explain a little better on just the student activity funds and how that's going to be important for us.
So I think first of all, when you have different types of student activity, the first thing I look at is the professional development that those opportunities present to people. So particularly when you look at student government, being able to have the funds to properly govern, to effectively govern their student organizations, to fund them, they do recognition of those organizations, and so that's all part of a process. And so when a person gets to step into that role, it allows them an opportunity to. And I apologize. Let me turn this off. It allows them an opportunity to learn things for the first time at a younger age so that when they step into those professional environments in the future, they're able to understand how to effectively identify which initiatives they should fund. They should to be able to effectively work through the process of um, data entry for creating those files for the different organizations they're overseeing,
Yeah.
and then also just having the ability to launch initiatives that are in the best interest of their constituents.
Yeah.
It's just such a huge learning opportunity. And having come from an environment where professionally, I've done that for about 12 years. I
Mhm.
just it's a passion of mine to be able to create an environment where students can start doing that earlier.
Yeah.
So I think that's the first thing I look at when you look at the honor societies as well. Such a great environment.
Right.
They kind of promotes that academic excellence. And
Yeah.
so again, just understanding the value of taking in knowledge early,
Mhm.
because that's one of the ways, quite frankly, that you can gain experience too is through reading. So
Yeah.
when you read books and when you consume knowledge, it adds to your store of personal experience that you can pull from, whether that experience is your own or one of someone that you read about in a book. It's just such a valuable asset to you to be able to take with you into whatever you do in life.
Yeah.
So that again that resonates with me as well. And so that's kind of what makes being able to create structures, and I talked about this last time, that serve as a vehicle to accomplish your goals. It's such a great thing to do because it empowers you to really contribute to what you're passionate about.
Right.
So I think that's going to go a long way to trying to support these different organizations, these different functions that serve as professional development, that serve as leadership development, and that serve as valuable student activities to
Yeah.
be engaged in. Because there's a huge effect, and this is the last thing I'll say about this because I could go on forever. But
I do wanna add something when you're
yeah,
done, yeah.
so like there's a huge effect. What you do outside of the classroom is far more valuable to your professional life than just getting the grade or the degree, because
Yeah.
it helps you become who you're going to become, and ultimately that's going to drive what you are able to accomplish in life.
Yeah. I agree. Yes. Don't only use college as a means to obtaining a degree. You should also use it to build your relations because, I mean, that's where me and Jared met in the college space. And so if you are ever questioning if I should go to college or if I should go back to college or if I should start pursuing higher education, I personally would say that you should have more than two reasons, or you should even have three or four reasons. It shouldn't be your only reason shouldn't be for a degree. You should be looking for the networking. You should be looking for the relations that you'll make because these could be people that either become your boss when you leave. It can be people that you work for, or it could be people that work with you, like in a business space. And so don't look down on anybody that you run into or you come across because that person could become vitally important in your future. And so same thing with books. And I'm glad I really wanted to talk about the books when you mentioned it. Those books are highly important because people took time into writing those books. People took time into putting and dumping their entire experience into those books. And so you want to be able to value the things that people give out. People want you to succeed. People want to see you grow. We all want to see an impact in other people's lives. And so a book is one way to do so. And so even as an entrepreneur, you can take your next step in entrepreneurship and create a book. Help somebody get the experience that you have. Help somebody see what you see, a perspective that's outside of their reality. Help them see that so that they can grow. And that's kind of what empowerment through mindset is all about, being able to help somebody receive a growth mindset, being able to want to read books, being able to want to receive advice from others, being able to receive mentorship. That's what we're all about. We want to be able to create those things that has helped us on our journey because we see the value in it. As C-suite executives, we know the value and we want to be able to share that amongst everybody.
Yeah, and it is really a joy to be able to reach back and provide guidance to the next generation
Mhm.
of leaders in society, because there's nothing more valuable than you being able to pull from your good and bad experiences and just
Mhm.
show people like this is what I did, right?
Mhm.
This worked out, this didn't work out. If you can learn from it, you'll be better for it, and you want people to be better than you are.
Right.
You want society to be better tomorrow than it is today, and so it's not about, and that's something I always try to remind myself. It's not about you as the person. It's just about what you can give to the next person, so
Right.
that they can carry it on forward, and it can continue from one generation to the next. But I wanted to talk about, because you mentioned something about books, and so speaking about books, and I've told you this before, you have an extreme level of attention to detail, and when you write your documents, when you're writing certain things, like policy and procedure, the way it's set up, it almost looks like a book. You have everything written on the top of the page, and you have your name attached to it and the date that it was written, and then you have a whole detailed breakdown. So I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you, where does that attention to detail come from? Your drive to be that detailed when you're writing things down.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that because it kind of relates to the question you asked earlier. And I did kind of briefly touch on like why detail is so important. And I'll just say it again, really, the small things is what the small things are what matters most. It's what makes or breaks you. It's what makes or breaks a system. And really you want to be able to have all the details that are important for an organization written out and somewhere where you can see them because again those things impact the entire organization as a whole. And so if we're missing one tiny detail, it could be our Achilles heel. And I've always had that, I guess you could call it a fear or whatnot, but I've always had that fear that there's something missing, there's a weak point, there's something that could be exposure and it could ruin everything if it's penetrated or if it's taken without care or it's taken lightly. And so that's why I implement a lot of structure and a lot of detail into policy. That's why I put a lot of detail into everything that I do because I don't want to fail. And it could be the fear of failing. And that could be something I struggle with. I know that when I do fail, what ultimately will be important is the ability to get back up stronger. And so every time I do fail, it just adds to more details being added because it's another thing to consider after you fail. You want to be able to learn from your mistakes. And so even when we do make mistakes, because it's bound to happen, so there's going to be one thing that I miss. And so while I can't put all the attention to detail, I do want to be able to put as much detail head first so that I can have some level of sustainability for long-term purposes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, one thing I'll say about that, because um, I don't like the word failure. I don't think there's really no such thing as failure. The only time you fail is when you stop, and so
Mm,
you're learning. You're learning, and mistakes are a part of that learning process. And so having a structure that allows for safe places to make mistakes and to grow, and that accounts for those things, I think is extremely important, because the mindset of failure versus success is something that really people struggle with that. It took me a while to realize that's exactly what it is. I still make mistakes every time, every day, but it's a learning process, and I don't consider it a failure if I'm willing to keep going. Because whether I accomplish what I'm looking to accomplish or I don't, the process is exactly the same. I'm going
right.
to take a look at what happened. I'm going to look at what worked and try to improve that. I'm going to look at what didn't work and try to minimize that. And so that's what you do with everything. You always provide that review process. I come from a sports background. I grew up playing sports, basketball and
Yeah.
football in high school. So I look at it as, when you watch film after you play, you look for your mistakes and you try to figure out how to minimize those, and you try
Mhm,
to try to repeat the things you did well. And so
mhm.
in life, I try to apply that same mindset, because it allows me to learn.
Yeah.
So I'm always reviewing. I'm always doing performance reviews on myself. I'm always doing sit reviews on how the day went. So at the end of my day, I always sit down and kind of do a breakdown. What happened today? What worked well? What was I able to accomplish? Did I get to do what I expected to do going into the day? Do I have things that I need to do tomorrow that I didn't get to today? How do I find time for those things? And then more importantly, how do I make sure that I can execute on my plan next time even
Yeah.
better? So I just wanted to mention that because I don't like to hear people say that they failed.
No,
So
yeah, that's fair. Honestly, yeah, I like that better. I won't say I fail because I mean, you only fail when you stop going, when you stop getting back up. And so I like that.
so you just learned. That's all.
Yeah.
You learned
I
something new.
just learned something new.
Yeah. And that's every day. Every day we're always learning something new. But I wanted to here I want to switch to one of my favorite segments,
Yes, sir.
tips for tips.
Tips
So
for
I have you
tips.
here now. So why don't you give us some of your tips for entrepreneurs who are just starting out? What are some tips you have for people?
Yeah. So if you were starting your entrepreneurship journey right now, so I'm talking to you, if you are about to start your entrepreneurship journey, or if you're even considering it, or if you're even thinking about it, here's my advice to you. I want you to be able to be coachable and susceptible to receiving information from people who are already on the journey or who are farther out in their journey in entrepreneurship. So, this could be reading books from people who are previous entrepreneurs. This can be somebody who you know that's an entrepreneur, whether it's somebody in your family. There could be people that are in your family right now who are entrepreneurs. Um, if they're selling a product or they're selling a service. I know that for me personally, I had a grandmother who owned a hair salon for many, many years. And I didn't see it as entrepreneurship as a small child. But looking back, I see that my grandmother was an entrepreneur. She was a hustler. She had that and she created many different relationships with people. And so I was kind of a Nepo baby in a sense where everybody that was at the hair salon kind of knew me because they knew my grandmother, they knew her business, and it was successful. And she ran it for many years. She sold it now, but the main point is you want to be able to connect with people who are in your circle that are entrepreneurs because those are going to be those are going to be the people that are more inclined to help you on your journey. People that you already have a relationship with, people that are your family or your friends or even your teachers or professors if you're in an educational institution. They can help you on your journey. But the quickest thing is, of course, to pick up a book and read it. If it's $15, $20, you're investing into your future. And so if it's $15 that can change your life, why wouldn't you invest in that? And so I would definitely, as a piece of advice, look for mentors, look for different ways to learn. And it could be just a YouTube video as well. And so looking up videos on YouTube on how to run a business or what is crucial for personal development because that is key to entrepreneurial success. It's all about personal development. It's who you become, it's your talent and your virtues that matter the most. It's about how you engage with people. It's about how you look at your business and all of its structure. You have to become that person so that your business scales with you. Your income won't exceed past the limits that you place on yourself. And so, if you are limiting yourself from becoming something greater, you're limiting your income to being something greater as well.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's powerful. Um, and that's again, that's a mindset shift that you have to make. And I keep using that word, but it's true. Mindset is everything.
That's right.
Um, and
Mhm.
that's what we're all about here. I wanted to talk a little bit in more detail because I know you mentioned briefly that you dealt with policy and procedure,
Right.
and that's something that always is valuable to me. Anytime I operate inside of a structure, the first thing I look for is those governing documents, the policy and procedure. So when you are writing those for the foundation, walk me through your process. Tell me about the importance of having that in place.
Yeah. So how I look at it is it's like the laws of God. And so I'll oftentimes relate things back to God or relate things back to the Bible. It's like the Ten Commandments. You want a structure that people can look at some type of law, some type of order that people can look back to gauge where they are as a character or where they're at as a human being. And so if I'm looking at the laws and it says thou shalt not lie, and I've been lying, it's kind of a reflection of who I am as a person. And so policy is crucial to seeing where a person fits in and if they should be doing better. So if they're not aligning with things like the code of conduct, they can look at the policy and readjust their character or readjust so that they aren't out of line of the rules and regulations that's been put in place, because those are things that are put in place to make the organization better. And so if your conduct is holding us back, we may have to terminate you or we may have to talk to you about why you're acting the way you are, because we're not going to be able to change who you are. And that's why there's a whole vetting process. We're finding people who are already with that character or with that mindset. We're finding those people. So good people aren't made, they're found. And so oftentimes those policies, when I'm putting them together, we're looking for people that we want to find. We want to find people who already align with the core values that we have. We're looking for people that already match the skills that we're looking for. And so, yeah.
Yeah, that's important. Yeah, because policy, it's it could be dry for some people. A lot of people, it's the first thing you skip over when you go through the orientation
Though
process.
that's true.
Again, I watched a lot of people when I was an HR manager for Brinks. I'd bring them in, and you go over the policy and the procedure, and that's the first that they're just ready to sign right away. They don't want to read it. They don't want to look at it. They don't want to know. But I think it's when you read those documents, it does give you a window into the framework of the company, of the organization that you're involving with. And it's something that you don't want to take lightly because you're committing to following those guidelines. And most of the times, it's a lot of them are organized in the same fashion, but you can tell a lot about an organization if you look at the detail inside of those documents. And then, more importantly, it gives you the opportunity to understand how you can most effectively assist and work inside of that structure to make positive change or to improve the processes and procedures that are currently in place.
Yeah,
So it's always been something that's been, I think, close to my heart, and it's an essential part of any business. So if you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to set an organization, you need to have some type of something in writing that governs how you act and how you work, because it holds
right,
you accountable, it holds everybody else accountable, and it keeps people honest.
right.
It keeps everybody honest, and it provides a nice framework from which to collaborate.
Can I add to that?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up, about the fact that it's supposed to keeps order, or it's supposed to be something that keeps everybody connected. And but more specifically, I wanted to just talk about how you see that type of structure in everything that you do. So it's not even just entrepreneurship. You see it in governments. You see it in the smaller clubs that we're a part of, like student government or in the honor societies. You see that structure of having a constitution or having bylaws, something that we can all govern under. And I guess that's why I made the correlation to the Bible as well prior, is because the Constitution is supposed to operate as a document that tells you your rights, that tells you what you can and can't do, different processes of if there's an issue of or if there's not an issue. There's different things that help you know how to operate, because ultimately somebody's going to have to put some order in place. It can either be you or it can be an impersonal process that everybody follows. And so even the people that put in the policy, they have to abide by their own policy as well. And so it's a standard that everybody is looking towards matching. So
yeah, and I think I'll just add one other thing to that. So anytime an organization blatantly ignores what's in writing, the policy that they wrote, then it's an indication of the quality of that organization.
correct.
And so that's a huge red flag when you see stuff like that.
It's a huge, huge red
Run,
flag.
run.
You got to
No,
run from
but
that.
honestly, it's just not a great environment to be in where that's the case. So you always want to communicate the respect for yourself in the process when you write it, and when you read it, you look for that. You look for the consistencies, and knowing that stuff, you'll be able to watch and see inside of organizations how that affects the way people respond and whether or not they end up staying long term, or whether anything good is able to even come out of, because nothing useful comes out of disorganization.
Correct.
Nothing good comes out of a lack of respect for the process. And so that's extremely important as well. Again, I could go on for hours about that. I don't want to
Yeah.
belabor the point, but the next principle I wanted to talk about was precision and quality control. So
Okay.
uh, I've worked closely with a lot of QAs.
Mhm.
I don't know if you have a lot of experience working with QAs or if you've ever worked as one, but what do you think when you think about quality control? What comes to your mind? What does that mean to you?
Quality control. Let me break the word up. So when I think of quality, I'm thinking of the condition of whatever you're selling, or if it's a product or if it's a service, it's the condition, whether it's, good or bad, and how great is the impact. That's how I see quality. Now, when you're talking about control, you're thinking of something that you can put in a box or something that you can manipulate to serve whatever desire goal you have. So let me see if I put it together. Quality control. I guess it's looking at the process of things and seeing how effective it is so that it's efficient and that it's effective. Did I
That's
kind of
exactly what it is.
That's
Yeah,
exactly what it
that's
is?
exactly what it is. Yeah, and so when you're engaging in quality control, you have different mechanisms. So, like you said, if you have a product specifically
Mhm.
that you're moving out, let's say you everything goes into a box
Yeah.
and then you send it out. So
Mhm.
QA will usually pull. At any given moment, they may pull a random box or a random section of boxes to analyze. They'll open it up and look to see, is what's in the box actually what's on the label?
Right.
Is the label going to the correct address? And this is just within the supply chain industry, but when you're looking at a process, it's the same thing. You're just not doing it with physical items, but you're analyzing, okay, is what you're saying is happening, is that actually what's happening?
Yeah.
And so you can't check everything that comes out the door, right?
Mhm.
But you can, if you randomly pull different segments of different batches or different sections of different items or services if you analyze different parts of that process,
Right.
you'll be able to provide feedback that can help improve production.
Mm.
So that's something that happens. It's extremely integral because let's say you have somebody that's not paying attention and
Right.
they're just throwing stuff in a box and they're just labeling it and pushing it down the line. A
Yeah.
QA will be able to catch that. And if over a certain number of boxes are incorrectly, now you got to stop the process and you got to figure out what's going on.
Right.
Because if you allow that to continue, you compromise the integrity of the entire operation.
Right.
And so quality control is extremely important. It's a form of analysis. It's a form of data collection, and it provides feedback to people who are overseeing an operation. Maybe you need to more effectively train people on how to do things.
Mm.
You need to be maybe you need to more closely watch what's actually happening so that these things don't slip through. Nobody's
Right.
perfect, so there will always be a margin. There's an acceptable margin of error, but
Right.
once you exceed that, you got to take a closer look at it.
Right.
So it's just something that I do personally for myself
Mhm.
when I'm going through different processes and when I'm approaching achievement of anything. I try to take a look at any given moment. Okay, analyze the quality of what's actually happening.
Mm.
So talk to me about like how does that principle apply to you in your life? Like, have you ever done that for yourself?
Good question. I believe so. There's times where I'll question the value that I bring and whether that matches who I might portray myself as. If I portray myself as a spiritual leader, do I have those qualities? Do I actually have those values that I'm bringing to people? If I label myself as a COO, am I bringing that value to my organization? Am I bringing that to our stakeholders? And so I have wrestled with that before. I believe that it is crucial being able to see if the label matches what's inside the box, like kind of how I like that analogy, seeing if the label matches what's inside the box. And so I believe that I want to label myself based off of what's in the inside. And so I want to take what's already in the box and then put the label on the outside. And so, same thing here. I want to build what's in the inside: heart, character, confidence, resilience. And then I want that to be my label. Well, really, I don't decide how I label myself. Others will label us, but really, ultimately, it doesn't matter because as long as you have what's in the inside, you know what's coming out. You know what's being portrayed on the outside. Now, there's certain things like maybe clothing or like how you groom yourself that could also affect how other people look at you, and that is something in the professional space or in the environment that is crucial. How you portray yourself physically as well, but most importantly is the inside. What's the character you have? So
Yeah, and I think it takes a level of transparency. You have to be honest with yourself first,
yeah,
and you have to be able to look at yourself from an outside perspective, unbiased, and analyze, does your character match what you say you are? And it's important as an entrepreneur to do that because in order for you to effectively launch an initiative or create an organization or make an impact, you've got to be able to lead yourself first before you
right,
can lead others and before you can lead an organization.
correct.
And so it's a constant struggle that we have. If I say that I'm a timely person, if I say that I'm an organized individual and I can't get up in the morning when I'm supposed to, that's something I have to look myself in the mirror and be able to figure that part out, and have that conversation with myself.
Yeah,
So it's a process. It's personal development, but it's also professional development. It's entrepreneurship. Business is life, right?
business is
Sometimes it's
life.
easy, sometimes it's hard, but business is life to me, and the opposite. And so you have to be able to be willing to engage in that type of work as well.
Can I
Um,
add on to that? I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but
no, you're fine. Go ahead. Yeah.
there was a quote that reminded me of from Jim Rohn. He's a very famous personal development and motivational speaker, and so I just remember this quote in the back of my mind. He was saying, "Let others lead small lives, but not you." And so, let others be small in life. Let others be mediocre, but not you. You excel past that. You advance past that. You take control of your life and you build it and merge it into or mold it into something that you want to see. Don't fall into the traps of complacency or don't fall into the traps of being average or falling with the crowd. There's a term for that. I'm trying to think of the word. There was a word for being conformity. That's the word. Conforming. Don't conform to what you see around you, but be better, be greater.
Yeah, and that's huge. Motivation, has a place in the process as well. You motivate yourself, you derive motivation from other people. But yeah, you gotta be willing to. Um, the conversation is different,
Yeah.
right? When you're about trying to make a difference, when you're trying to solve a problem, the mindset shifts from what you can't do, right? Oh, you can't do this, to you shift from that to let's figure out how we can make this
How
happen.
we can
Let's
make it
figure out how
happen.
we can make this work. And
Right.
so it's very easy to tell when you're sitting across from somebody who is operating on the problem level, where they're just pointing out what doesn't work and can't happen, and that's not going to work. And it's like, okay,
It's like,
well,
okay, how can we
yeah,
make this work?
it takes very little intelligence to point out that there's a problem. Most people
Right.
can see that the real struggle, the real challenge is trying to create a solution. And that is an integral aspect of entrepreneurship. It's almost all of what business does is they solve problems. The most successful businesses solve problems. They create solutions. And it's
Right.
because someone was willing to sit down and change the conversation from pointing out what doesn't work and can't happen to creating structure that allowed them to solve those problems, having a conversation that's difficult, advocating for what needs to happen,
Right.
and then getting that solution figured out. It takes a lot of work and it's not for everybody.
It's not.
Some
It's
people
not.
don't want to engage in that level of thought. Some people don't want to engage in that level of action, and that's okay.
Right.
Um, you never want to condemn people. People are who they are. They make their choices. But for me personally, I'm driven to figure it out.
Right.
That's a large part of who I am, and so that's kind of what makes business a passion for me.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with sports, as well. Just trying to figure it out, how to get better. But that's kind of where my background comes from. So when you talk about empowering people's mindsets to be able to shift that conversation,
Right.
that's a huge thing that needs to happen as well.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think that, and I appreciate you for that because everything that you do, you ultimately brought the vision for the business, and you have just amazing charisma. You have an amazing way that you articulate your thoughts and your words, and I admire that greatly. And it ultimately is what inspired me to work on my communication, and it's what helps me want to learn how to share my ideas in a way where others can understand it. And so I just wanted to say that really quickly.
No, I appreciate the compliment. To be honest, I still have some robotic tendencies,
Robotic
so I still
tendencies.
need to work on, vocal tonality at times and just, being a little bit more loose and comfortable. But I do appreciate the compliment. It's something I work on. I try to be open. I try to be thoughtful, and I try to be intentional. So I do
Yeah.
appreciate the compliment, though. I see a lot of I see a lot of that in you. I see a
Mm.
lot of that in you. And to be quite honest, I wish that I had spent, well, you know what? I can't even say that because everybody, I can't even say that because everybody's journey is their journey.
Yes.
So you go through what you go through, and it helps to inform who you are. Part of me wants to say I wish I should have gone to college when I was younger.
Mm.
Starting now at my associates at 30, a
Mhm.
lot of times, sometimes I feel like no, you're behind. But then I look and I'm like, well, look at all the other things you had the privilege and opportunity to be able to be involved with.
Yeah.
Would you have that experience if you? So it's just you can't do that to yourself. But
Right.
I do see in you something that I could have done, right? And I see the fact that you take things seriously. Your future is bright. Your future is extremely bright as long
Yeah.
as you maintain that mentality, that level of attention to detail, that level of thoughtfulness. You keep reading, you keep growing, you keep learning. You're never failing, right? Always
Right.
learning. If you keep doing that, then you're really going to go places. I'm excited to see where you're going to take this organization as well, which is it's really a privilege to be able to have a team of people that actually work hard and to have you be a part of that. So
That's right.
thank you. Yeah,
Yeah. And I do want to shout out to like our chief technology our chief
CTO.
technology,
Yeah,
yeah, our CTO. I wanted to say the whole title.
that's
Chief
okay.
Technology Officer Daniel Ward. He's done a great job putting in the work for us and getting technology going, technology that can help us innovate, technology that can help us research and move the business. Also, want to shout out to our Chief Financial Officer, Neri Martinez. He's done a lot in the background of things in terms of the finance, in terms of the budgets and expenses. We've worked closely with him in terms of getting that done. And so, like you said, we do have a really great team with us in getting things moving quicker than we expected even previously. And so, I mean, I would offer for the audience who's watching, you want to find a good team, but not only that, but you want to find a good, hardworking team who has the same vision, who has the same passion and motivation. And so, yeah, I'm just really excited for the future and where it's going to take us along and what we can do with that.
Yeah, and we don't have a lot of time left, but I do want to say that's something that every entrepreneur needs to carry inside of themselves
Right.
is that excitement, that that hope for the future, the
Yeah.
excitement to be able to make change, and it's something you have to protect as well. Sometimes you'll get around people who will be negative, so you
Yeah.
have to protect that energy. So
Right.
be careful who you surround yourself with as well, because that's going to be extremely important. And your ability to move forward is having people around you that will support your mindset and your attitude. towards progress, because not everybody's going to do that. Some people will trample on it.
Yeah.
So got to be very careful there. But if you enjoyed this podcast, please like, subscribe, and what else do people do?
I mean, you could comment, let us know what you think about the podcast. You can also share it to your friends or family who are starting their entrepreneurship journey, or if they just want to learn about entrepreneurship, if they've never gotten the time to, they can listen to this podcast while they're on the train or while they're on a walk or while they're doing a workout. You can really listen to it at any time. You don't have to watch it, but we are, as you're watching right now, we're on YouTube. We are also on Instagram. And so you can check out our Instagram as well. You can also check out our LinkedIn. All socials will be in the description below. And so be sure to check us out on all platforms. There's exclusive content on Instagram and on LinkedIn. And we will be soon launching the website. So be looking forward for that as well. And yeah, I just want to say I really appreciate the viewer who's on the other side. Stay motivated, stay driven, and just ultimately stay blessed, man.
All right. Thanks, Christian, for joining us today.
Yeah.
And that'll wrap it up today for Mindset Matters. We look forward to seeing you guys next time.
Yeah. Take care.